Okay,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah.
stimulates
Microdosing.
healing. Well, but beyond that, supervised dosage among professionals in psychology and doctors. I've actually experienced that, but with a different compound as part of research in the NHS. But that's a different story. But to dial it back, with cross curriculum stuff, neurodivergence, and psilocybin, the common factor is crosstalk, because neurodivergence, we would essentially have different parts of the brain rather than the mind, but the brain talking to each other. Psilocybin stimulates that. So when someone is struggling with a severe mental health issue, they're helping support their pathway out of it to have these deeper realizations by getting different parts of the brain talking to each other. There's a great diagram here. I'm trying
It
to.
helps the neural pathways, the neurotransmitters, neuroreceptors reprogram, repath, and work appropriately, and
Cool.
So
all
this is
facets of the
the
mind or the brain.
placebo, and then that's the brain on psilocybin. So the different
Ooh.
types of connections.
Yeah.
What we need is we need to have a similar kind of approach to education and dealing with the challenges that young people face in our evolving world, because the world's changing faster than we can respond to it. So we really need to start teaching people about how to develop like true sense of resilience, and regulation is the cornerstone of a personal resilience strategy, because we don't really do that.
No.
We find that we're held hostage to trigger warnings. And I don't mean that when people abuse people by their triggers, because I've got no time for that.
No.
But when people are kind of living in a very narrow experience because what they've been through is so difficult that they need to be kept away from these sources of reactivation. This kind of approach where we can help, create more openness, more adaptability, but guiding children through this as they go through these cycles of development into the world and whatnot. And then also there's a case for continuous lifelong education as well, which we don't see that. We think that we go to school, we go to college, we go to university, and then we might do post-grad, but we're supposedly then learned. It's the biggest crock of nonsense ever. Like, if you can just have yourself open to receive new impressions from the world and then respond to them consciously, it doesn't matter how far you've gone in education, you'll be ahead of most people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is so divergent brain operation that you Alistair and Natalia definitely have, and Brenda, I would think so. If you were ever tested, you'd be on one or two spectrums because of this brightness that you give off. So we met because I responded to a post you'd made, and immediately when we spoke there was like the same energy transfer. And you tried to use the Reiki on me through the screen, and I said to her, no, I'm more visual, I see energy. So I want to tackle two things, and the second thing is hopefully a segue into a more adult centered conversation. So the question is, I can understand entirely why a teenage girl would be under such pressure and then so exploited that she would feel that death is the only way out. I'm struggling to understand how a 6-year-old